Now the latest on health and healing. Magnesium is really a miracle, large moleculed supplement. It is probably the best mineral we can take into our body, along with all the others. Well, magnesium is an essential mineral for the heart alone. 100 different things that magnesium will do for your heart. It's necessary to maintain good health. It is involved in many important bodily functions. For example, when you contract your muscles, magnesium. When blood sugar is going too far up, magnesium. When blood pressure needs regulated, magnesium regulates your blood pressure, along with potassium. And because it's important for many bodily functions, having low magnesium levels, which is not good, can lead to serious conditions like diabetes and heart disease. On the other hand, recent studies now prove that boosting your magnesium levels can help reduce risk factors for diabetes and heart disease, such as inflammation and high blood pressure. Low magnesium levels have been linked to high blood pressure and a high risk of stroke and heart disease. This was done at Erasmus University Medical Center in Rotterdam in the Netherlands, and they also found that if you don't have enough magnesium, you increase your risk of dying due to coronary heart disease, CHD, and sudden cardiac arrest. So that's very important. And this was published in the Journal of the American Heart Association. So it can help protect you against sudden cardiac death, heart attacks. How about that? And why? The best that I can determine from this is that because it reduces inflammation, which is associated with atherosclerosis or hardening of the arteries. Magnesium helps improve blood circulation by regulating blood pressure. And high blood pressure is a risk factor for heart disease by itself. And when it comes to diabetes, and frequently you see the three together, diabetes, high blood pressure, diabetes, congestive heart failure or coronary heart disease, atherosclerosis, you tend to have low magnesium levels, and that makes you prone to other conditions as well. So make sure you're getting your magnesium every day. Remember, insulin resistance occurs when there's too much blood sugar circulating inside your body. The pancreas responds to this by releasing more insulin to induce cells to take up sugar from the blood. But over time, cells become resistant to insulin and stop responding to it. Magnesium is required for both glucose utilization and insulin signaling. And this is why metabolic alterations in cellular magnesium can lead to insulin resistance, which in turn contributes to the onset of type 2 diabetes. By the way, this study was also published in Diabetes Research and Clinical Practice. A review of evidence by researchers at the University of Bristol and as well as the University of Edinburgh have suggested a new possible means by which chlamydia could lead to an increased risk of cancer in ectopic pregnancy. The hypothesis also provides a possible explanation for how pelvic inflammation may be triggered by some or in some women. This was published in the Journal of Infectious Diseases, and it looked at evidence from lab-based studies and clinical studies on the role of chlamydia. Now, the researchers analyzed the study's findings that chlamydia induces a particular type of change in reproductive tract cells known as epithelial to EMT. This is a methylchymal transition, which can lead to inflammation and cell growth. And their hypothesis that the chlamydia-triggered cell change contributes to the development of further disease. I also expect that you would have known that chlamydia is a bacterial infection, and it can persist even the conditions even after chlamydia infection has been cleared, which is not that difficult. So it just means you don't want to end up with ovarian or cervical cancer because you had chlamydia, and a combination of these damages the DNA, and then you end up having problems. So just be checked for chlamydia, and there are natural protocols to heal yourself, and just be aware. And from the National Institute of Cardiology in Brazil, an article published in the Brazilian Journal of Medical and Biological Research shows that whey protein is associated with improved microvascular function in patients with heart failure. That's important, all right? If you can improve what otherwise is a systemic microvascular circulation in heart failure patients, then you're helping save lives. And just so you understand, the endothelium is the lining of the body's arteries, whose functions may be impaired in cardiovascular disease, thereby reducing the artery's ability to relax, which adversely affects circulation. It's important to note that macro and microvascular dysfunctions are defined as the impairment of endothelium-dependent vasodilation or increased arterial stiffness, which are related to several cardiovascular diseases, including hypertension, atherosclerosis, diabetes, and heart failure. So, and this was a 12-week study, and they used whey protein for their protein in the morning in a shake, and it was rich in arginine, and and it had a positive outcome. So that's important. Also, University College of Cork, C-O-R-K, which is in Ireland, eating yogurt every day may help eliminate Alzheimer's disease. That's important. Yeah. In a recent study, memory problems were reversed after old mice were given friendly bacteria. This research suggests that gut-boosting yogurts, or by the way, any probiotic, could help ward off Alzheimer's disease, which opens the door to the development of probiotics in the use of dementia. Now, for those of us who are working with people with dementia and Alzheimer's, there's a lot of probiotics. I will not go into the specifics because each person is different and how they use it, how much they're getting. But this is just a game changer. So it's not the yogurt that's important. It's the fermented bacteria that's in the yogurt. So you can get that fermentation in many other sources. So this is a game changer because what it's saying is what you've been hearing all along for decades. The microbiome with the good bacteria can be harnessed to reverse age-related brain deterioration. And it can also improve learning and cognitive function. And that's according to Professor John Cryan at the University College Cork. And so, by the way, someone asked me the other day, I was at the farmer's market, and this person came up and started a conversation. They had a beard and sunglasses and a hat, and then they said that, do I remember them from 1980 when they were in the Natural Living and Running Walking Club for about 3 months? And I said, I can't remember because I'm sure you didn't look this way. No, I didn't have the beard. But we had a nice conversation, and the person's kept to the protocols. Then the person says, I know you talk about it, you got to have a healthy gut to have a healthy body and a healthy immune system. I said, that's correct. And he said, well, how many microorganisms do you have to have, and how many are in the gut? I said, well, just in your intestines, you have over 100 trillion, with a T, T-R-I-L-L-I-O-N, microorganisms that live in your gut, both good and bad. And the immune system is impacted by the balance. So when you're eating a clean, healthy diet, you have the preponderance are good. When you're eating junk food, fast food, refined carbohydrates, sugars, alcohol, soft drinks, carbonated beverages, coffee, it shifts to the bad. And therefore you're more responsible for the deterioration of your immune system. Now, age-associated changes in the immune system were reversed with different implants of different bacteria. So just remember, I'll make it as simple as possible. Clean foods, meaning organic, ideally locally grown, wash it before you eat it. That is what creates the good bacteria. Have apple cider vinegar, have beet juice, eat beets, have sauerkraut, even low sodium or non-sodium sauerkraut, have kimchi, have miso, tempeh, tofu, or just take the good probiotic capsules. And that way you have a healthy gut, and that helps you. Also, I travel a lot, and I'm always, long before COVID, when I got on an airplane, if people watch me, they think, this guy's nuts. And I would spray colloidal silver and a rubbing alcohol, small container, on the seat and wipe it down. Then I put a paper towel down. I have my I have 3 protections. One's the 95N mask, one's a shield over the face, and then one is my ionizer that I wear, and that gives me protection. And then if it's a long flight, every couple hours I spray colloidal silver in my nose and mouth. And I'm the only one frequently on a plane that will do any of that stuff. But then when I see people in the restroom, they don't either wash their hands at all or it's just real quick under the water. That's not going to do anything. If you want clean hands, wash them for 20 seconds. Why? Because hand washing model uses fluid mechanics to track harmful bacteria. Though hand washing is proven effective in combating the spread of disease and infection, the physics behind it has rarely been studied. But in Physics of Fluids, by AIP Publishing, researchers from a group described a simple model that captures the key mechanisms of hand washing. By simulating hand washing, they estimated the time scales on which particles, like viruses and bacteria, were removed from hands. The mathematical model acts in 2 dimensions, with one wavy surface moving past another wavy surface in a thin film of liquid between the 2. Wavy surfaces represent hands because they are rough on small spatial scales. Particles are trapped on the rough surfaces of the hand in potential wells. In other words, they're at the bottom of a valley, and in order for them to escape, the energy from the water flow must be high enough to get them up and out of the valley. The strength of the flowing liquid depends upon the speed of the moving hands. A stronger flow removes particles more easily. Basically, the flow tells you about the forces on the particles. Then you can work out how the particles move and figure out if they're getting removed. Let's just put it this way. I'm sure everyone here is engaged in the process of scrubbing a stain out of a shirt or blouse or pants. The faster the motion, the more likely it is to come out. If you move your hands too gently, too slowly, relative to one another, the forces created by the flowing fluid, the water, are not big enough to overcome the force holding the particle down. Even when particles are removed, that process is not fast. Typical hand washing guidelines make it 20 seconds under the faucet. Do you remember I told you how I take all vegetables like a salad? Let's say kale or curly spinach. And it's got all those little nicks and crannies in it, like a radicchio. So what I do is I spray it with a veggie cleanse, and then I rinse it. And as I'm rinsing it, I'm massaging between all those cracks and crevices. Then I rinse it. Then I put it in a bowl, and I spray the water. And then I agitate it, because what I wouldn't see and what I didn't massage out, now by agitation and then rinsing, agitate, rinse, then you get all that E. coli and salmonella things you wouldn't have seen with the naked eye that a superficial wash wouldn't have got. Now you get it all. Same way with an avocado. I spray the avocado. I then thoroughly massage it vigorously, rinse it, do it again vigorously, and that way when you're cutting into the avocado flesh, the outside that could be contaminated is not taking a smear of that on the blade and putting it on the flesh. That's how you end up with food poisoning. In fact, the other day I was walking by a farmer's market, and there was a food stand of fresh guacamole. And the person had a box of avocados, was peeling them with a knife and then putting them into a bowl. And I went over and I said, you do realize that there's all kinds of contamination on the skin of that avocado. Oh, but I'm putting some garlic and onion in here. I said, that will do nothing to kill all that you could be spreading. And I said, that you ought to wash it. And, so just remember, when you're eating a processed food, you don't know whether proper hygiene has been used or not. So that's why I never eat anything raw out. I bring it home, I wash it, then I eat it. At least I know it's been properly cleaned. Don't be cavalier about it, because I can show you a 250-pound bodybuilder, friend of mine, who was very, nonchalant about it. And a little tiny microorganism, little tiny E. coli that you couldn't see with the naked eye, he ate hummus and ended up for 4 days sick, like a little baby, in a fetal position. I went over to visit him, and I took him a whole get well, protocol. And I should have listened. Well, sometimes karma comes in ways that kind of smacks us and says, you ready for your lesson now? Yep. And finally, from New York University, Langone Health, published in the peer-reviewed journal Cell, vitamin C can actually encourage blood cancer stem cells to die. Yeah, vitamin C may tell faulty stem cells in the bone marrow to mature and die normally, instead of multiplying to cause blood cancers. This is the finding of a study over at the Perlmutter Cancer Center at New York University, Langone Health. And so just something to think about. One more reason to take your vitamin C.